All right, guys. We are going to talk about some woody monsters, meaning woody fragrances that are super beast mode, super long lasting, and are perfect to wear this winter when it gets really cold outside. So, woody fragrances, they're not my favorites, but I like them in some forms or others, especially when they're combined with other things. So, I've got woody fragrances here, but a lot of them do have other notes that strengthen them up and make them a lot more exciting in comparison to just straightforward woody fragrances. So I've got 20 of them here. These are the ones that are going to cut through the cold air. These are going to be the ones that are going to be the longest lasting. And if you like long lasting fragrances but don't like any sweetness, these are the fragrances that you're going to want to look up and get to wear this winter. So some of these are laced with leather, some have tobacco, some do have sweetness, but these are not your traditional sweet leaning fragrances. So we don't have a lot of those sweet fragrances, but these are super intense, long lasting. A lot of them are extraited parfums. Some of them do feature oud, so it's another form of a woody note, but really potent fragrances that you're going to want to have. So if you have a favorite woody fragrance that you wear during the colder months that you feel like is super long lasting, do let me know what it is. Add a comment below. But let's get started with the first fragrance. We're going to the house of essential parfums. It's BOIS Imperial Extrait Parfum. So this is one of the fragrances that we've had in Scent Club kit number 14, and that's one of our more popular kits recently. It's the one that has vanilla mudslide extrait parfum as well, but this actually is a much more potent take on the original, and they've gotten it's gone deeper, much more intense. There's ambery touches, the leather's amplified in here. Lots of woods for sure, spices, peppery spices, and there is a little bit of a rosiness in there as well, all mixed together. But I wouldn't call BOIS Imperial Extrait Parfum like a super rosy fragrance. You have the original DNA. It's just been intensified, leather boosted up, amber boosted up, spices boosted up, and you do have that hint of rose, as I said. I quite like this DNA, BOIS Imperial Extrait Parfum. That is the very first extraited parfum from the house of Essential Parfums. Makes sense because the original is such a popular offering from that house. So what are they going to do? They're going to launch an extrait parfum. So let's go to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois next. We're going with the fragrance B683 Extrait Parfum. So this is a really super concentrated take on the original B683, but I feel like this is kind of a combo of his Ganymede along with the B683, because I feel like the two fragrances are connected together. But this is also given a funk treatment. The oud in this is quite animalic, so there's definitely funk in here. So be warned if you're not into animalic notes. It even has cumin, so you're gonna get kind of a sweaty funk feeling in here. But it's an overdose of woods, spices, and ozonic freshness with violet leaves and a bit of crunchy, juicy fruitiness from apple. But really long lasting. There's eventually some sweetness when it's drying down, but it's super potent. And this is the kind of fragrance you're going to want to wear when it's really cold outside, especially if you want something very, very woody. And speaking of one of my favorite woody fragrances, going to the house of JOVOY, Incident Diplomatique. This is actually not an extrait parfum. The previous two fragrances are. This actually has great longevity. So I like its lingering power, and it smells fantastic. I love the combination in this fragrance of the Vetiver with the Patchouli. The two together work really, really well. And the kinds of Patchouli and Vetiver they're using in here, they also complement one another, giving you this kind of a very woody, nutty, dusty kind of an experience. But behind it, there's some, citrusy, sweet orange touches and additional woods and spices as well. Super awesome woody fragrance. One of my favorite woody fragrances. In fact, I think there's like 5 fragrances that I really love from the house of JOVOY, including Incident Diplomatique, Private Label, of course, Psychedelic, Remember Me, and there's 1 or 2 others as well. But this, to me, is also a compliment getter. So if you want compliments and you want something woody, spicy, definitely try Incident Diplomatique. But let's go to the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. It's Ecstasy. Ecstasy is also really awesome. It's got a bit of a wintry feeling. It has pine and spruce in the notes, but it is kind of like having a bit of a heart of rose in there. So the rose is noticeable, but it's such a nice contrast to the pine and spruce note in here. There's patchouli and ambery notes in the dry down. There's soil tincture, and it's a great fragrance. To me, it smells kind of like the idea of walking through a pine spruce forest, and there's this patch of roses that are very, very fragrant, and they're projecting off of the flowers. and maybe it's somewhat warm, and so the things have been baking under the sun. So you've got this very earthy, green, woody, experience here with some floral touches that come in, but really wonderfully done. One of the best and probably one of the more underrated TIZIANA TERENZI fragrances. It's also quite long lasting. This is an extrait de parfum fragrance, as you can see in the bottom. Do you see that? Anyway, it's a really awesome scent from the house. Definitely one that you should discover if you don't know much about it. Then we're going to go to the house of NISHANE. It's KREDO or KREDO, as you can see right here. Definitely one of the better ones from the house of NISHANE that was launched with this collection of fragrances with IFF perfumers. This is a Jean-Louis Suizac creation. To me, it'll remind you of Tom Ford Oud Wood, but it is a bit different. It's quite spicy, and there's a light fruitiness in there as well with the Osmanthus note, but there's suede leather in this, a lot of oud wood accord and woodsy notes. So it's definitely a very classy, also very gentlemanly fragrance to wear. Really nicely done. I think if you like oud wood and you want something a little bit more potent and intense, maybe slightly different direction leaning, but you like the way that the oud wood smells. And this also has, like I said, a slight bit leathery touch and also fruitiness from the Osmanthus. You're really going to love KREDO. KREDO is really great from the house. Definitely one for you to try. That is from the house of NISHANE. Then we're going to the house of Tom Ford. We've got Oud Wood Parfum. So here we have a much more intense, much more potent take on the original Oud Wood. And what they've done is basically intensified the fragrance and also given it slight bit ambery direction. So it's lots of peppery spices and cardamom spices in here. But when you put your nose to it, you'll definitely experience the amber. So it feels a lot deeper, whereas Oud Wood now feels a bit airy, a little transparent. You can kind of see through it. Here, it's much more dense, much more potent, also very long lasting, but you still have that very familiar smell of oud wood. You're familiar with that smell. You know what you're, wearing, but it's lasting longer, projecting louder and things like that. So that is Oud Wood Parfum from the house of Tom Ford. Let me know if you're familiar with these fragrances so far. All right, next going to the house of Maître Parfumeur Gantier. This is Route de Vetiver. Route de Vetiver, meaning it's your route to experience vetiver. And if you like vetiver, this is one of the best vetiver fragrances on the market. It's such a rooty vetiver. It's such a deep vetiver, and it's got that kind of damp, humid, grassy, earthy smell that the vetiver is known for. So it's got very antique kind of smells to it, but this is lots of vetiver with woodsy notes. There's slight fruity undertones and green notes as well, and a little bit of musk and sandalwood. So in the end, vetiver is a woody note, but to me it acts woody, grassy, dry, and of course, it's got those woody characteristics, but it's all quite earthy, and it kind of has a humid dampness about it as well, especially when it's wet outside. The fragrance that features vetiver really comes alive. So here, they've just given it such a really raw, rooty, earthy, realistic experience. So you have this kind of a very damp, earthy, woody experience with the Route de Vetiver. So that's Route de Vetiver from the house of Maître Parfumeur Gantier. It's a great one from the house, but they're mostly known for fragrances like Ambre Perso and Ambre Mythique and things like that. Next, going to the house of Xerjoff. This is Alexandria 2, a very popular fragrance from the house. This is also a woody amber fragrance. Lots of woods in this fragrance. You've got oud, you've got sandalwood, lily of the valley, there's amber, vanilla, there's, slight fruity notes and also rosy kind of floral notes. But I think it's a very interesting fragrance that it has a huge following. It's very, very popular. There's also a bit of muskiness in this when you're wearing it, slight musky, and also a bit of Middle Eastern touch about it, but it has great projection, really long-lasting qualities, and you do end up smelling quite sexy with this one. And when you have oud in this, it's known for having oud. It's not a very animalic oud, even though it's that Laotian style of oud. It's reserved. The oud is reserved, but it's nicely blended with a lot of different ouds and amber, floral notes and aromatic and fruity notes as well. So really nicely done fragrance, Alexandria 2 from the house of Xerjoff. We're going to the house of Francesca Bianchi next. I think this has become a favorite fragrance of mine from this house. Encounters. In fact, I've worn so much of it, the label's all messed up. It's also super potent. A lot of the fragrances of Francesca Bianchi are in 30 ml bottles. And loud, long-lasting, intense. And it's a fragrance that features oud with a lot of other woodsy notes, but it also has that DNA that you're familiar with from Francesca Bianchi fragrances. It's really, really lovely. Really nicely done, super strong. You've got, you know, iris in here, you've got leathery notes, you've got the rose in here, but there's also lots of amber and oudi touches. Great fragrance, super long lasting. I love its qualities. It smells great on me. It's slightly bordering animalic, but I don't think it's super animalic. Be warned though, so it might be a bit too much for you if you're not familiar with it, but it's a really great fragrance if you're looking for something super potent to wear during the winter months and you want to stick to woody fragrances. But next, going to the house of Mise en Cire, it's Perfect Oud Extrait de Parfum. I actually just featured this in a video with Mise en Cire fragrances highly discounted. If you haven't caught that video, go catch it because there's some great deals out there on fragrances from this house. So this is Perfect Oud Extrait de Parfum, which is basically a Extrait de Parfum version of one of the more popular fragrances from this house. So it features oud, cedar, there's rum, rose, incense, vanilla, bergamot, and cardamom. So it's super spicy, boozy, a bit floral. And I think this is more of an oud accord rather than a traditional, authentic, realistic oud. It's an oud accord. You can totally smell it. It's very westernized. It's, you know, it's got those characteristics of the Western, you know, oud accords, but it's not overly animalic, if at all. It's just a really nice blend. I like the booziness. I like the spices. I like the rosy touches. If you're familiar with fragrances like Tom Ford's Oud Wood, you'll like this fragrance or fragrances like this. And I like that nice contrast of booziness with a little bit of that floral rose touch in here. It's a nice balancing act, whereas Oud Wood is kind of one-dimensional for me. It all leans one side. And with this, the rose and the booze kind of give it a little bit more of a balance for me. There goes my Libra side because I like balance in fragrances as well and also in life. But it's a great fragrance. I'm glad to have this, and it was pretty discounted online. So that is Perfect Oud Extrait de Parfum from the house of Mise en Cire. This next fragrance from the house of Amouage has become a really great fragrance for me, and it's a great fragrance created by Bertrand Duchaufour. This is Jubilation 40. Man and boy, they've taken the original and really amped it up and intensified it. And you know, the original I discovered again at Neiman Marcus when Neiman Marcus just put out Amouage like in 2022. And I had forgotten about the original. I came back to it and really loved it, but I felt like it was kind of transparent, thin, very airy and ethereal. I don't know if it was reformulation or if that's how it was all the time. I don't think so because I've heard it was a beast before, but this version is taking that and really intensifying it, make it much deeper, amberier, woody, spicy. There's also a bit of touches like piney, kind of camphor, and I think we're getting that from the bay note, the cloves, and notes like this, mossy notes, because they're kind of quite amplified in this fragrance. And I love the way it smells. It's quite a really delicious offering. Really one that I enjoy because it's not just woods. You got a lot of aromatic, spicy, somewhat green, and also some fruity touches that are in here. Really lovely, really, really great fragrance, super long lasting from the house of Amouage. It's Jubilation 40, man. And then we've got Oud Stallion from the house of Maison Crivelli. And as I was saying earlier, these are woody fragrances that don't necessarily stick with just woods because Oud Stallion is leathery. Some of these fragrances do have leathers, some have tobacco, and I like these kind of woody fragrances because they make them more exciting for me rather than you're just wearing just woods, then it gets kind of boring. So with this one, I like that it's leather and oud together. So you've got these working together wonderfully. So they provide a very oudy, woody, leathery touch, but there's lots of spices here, lots of spices, and a little bit of rose once again. This nice contrast of the rose in this, along with some osmanthus, which is slightly fruity and floral. So you've got these nice contrasts to give it a bit of a balance rather than going in that one direction or this direction. I mean, it's just ouds and woods, you know? That's what I like about this one. But there's also some patchouli in this and some jasmine to give it really nice, you know, contrast and balance with not only you're having like woods and ouds and spices, but you have some brighter notes like, you know, the osmanthus, the jasmine, and the Turkish rose. Really lovely done. It's leathery, it's oud and woody. This is Oud Stallion, Extrait de Parfum from the house of Maison Crivelli. This next one is Oud in White, a fragrance created by Julien Rascanet for the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. This one, actually, I would have to warn you, this might get a bit animalic. And I think animalic because not only do they have Cambodian oud, it's Cambodian oud al safi, and it also has a lot of jasmine. So I think the jasmine is the indolic variety. The Cambodian oud is the animalic variety. The two together create an explosive animalic experience. But once again, it's tolerable. It's not super animalic where it's really, really poopy smelling. You'll smell that here. but they've balanced it. He's balanced it out with a lot of other notes here. So we've got Virginia cedarwood, cistus labdanum. There's also osmanthus, raspberry, pear, and ginger. And of course the sandalwood in here. I think it's a great fragrance. Julien does really great oody woody fragrances. And so here, he's added little touches of, you know, the raspberry, the osmanthus, and the pear to give it a little bit of a fruity twist. But it's not a fruity fragrance. It's just a nice balancing act that he's pulled on these notes once again. So this is Oud in White from the House of Laboratorio Olfativo. It's pretty potent, vibrant, intense fragrance. Super perfect for the cold days of winter. Then we're going to the House of Born to Stand Out. It's Oud Candy. Oud Candy is a favorite of mine from the... Actually, now there's 6 of these in these red bottles, but still, Oud Candy, created by Margot Lepage-Guerin. I really love the way it smells. This one, I think, might be on the sweet side compared to a lot of these other fragrances because it's called oud candy. So what do you get with candy? You get sweetness, right? But it's not just that. It's oud, leather, saffron. There's brown sugar, candy, oak moss. There's black woods, ambroxan, sandalwood, cedar, leather, caramel. So you've got a lot of dark, woodsy, leathery kind of notes, spicy, and balancing act with the candy, sweet, sugary, vanillic kind of caramelly notes on the other side. Plus it's that great DNA that you get from fragrances that Margot Lepage-Guerin creates that I find super sexy. So really wonderful, super, super long lasting. This is like 40 to 60% concentration oud candy. So a little goes a long way. If you like intensity, check that one out. All right, and then we're gonna go to a long standby. It's a super potent beast mode fragrance. I know some people don't like that word, but you know, I don't use it on a daily basis, but it's a great word to use to describe fragrances. Super intense, long-lasting fragrances. So this is Red Tobacco from Mancera. Yeah, this one's a lot going on here. It's a super busy fragrance. It's not only tobacco, there's oud here, there's sandalwood, there's gaiac wood, patchouli, there's vetiver, there's green apples, amber, incense, cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg. So it's a busy fragrance, but also super intense, really potent, long-lasting, major projection and sillage. And you know, this whole combination is warm, spicy, fruity, oody woody, and ambery combined together to make for this wonderfully sticky, super long-lasting tobacco woody fragrance. It's so good. If you don't know this one, definitely check it out. It's beast mode, I'll say again. But we're going to a fragrance from a designer sort of house, Guerlain. This is Vetiver Parfum. I do find this to be quite woody, obviously. It's a woody notes and aromatic notes, but it's also the parfum concentration. So it's got great lingering power from a designer type of a mass market release, but it's basically taking your original vetiver and intensifying it with other notes. So you've got that signature vetiver smell that you're familiar with in the eau de toilette, but this one also has added juniper berries, smoky notes, tonka, coriander, and a little bit of licorice. So it's intense. I wouldn't call this the most beast mode because there's fragrances in here that are so much more longer lasting, but I want to recommend this one because it is definitely that famous smell, the vetiver smell from Guerlain, but in a much more concentrated version. So that's Vetiver Parfum from the House of Guerlain. And another designer, this is from the House of Tom Ford. It's Costa Azzurra Parfum. This is also a very woody, aromatic, citrusy fragrance, super long lasting as well. And it's quite sticky when you're wearing it. So it's kind of like the stickiness of Noir Extreme Parfum in this goldish bottle once again. But what I like about this one, you have traces of something marine aquatic in here, but it's overdosed with a lot of woods. It's oak wood, there's cypress in here, there's labdanum, which is ambery touches, and then of course citruses with lemons. So you have that wonderful start at the beginning with the citruses, and you've got a little bit of the touch of the marine sea breeze type note in here. They don't mention it, but I get it in this because the original has that. And then it starts getting deeper, aromatic, woody, ambery, resinous, all coming in together. Long lasting, it smells great. It's very classy, masculine, and definitely one for you to try if you haven't tried it yet. This is Costa Azzurra Parfum from the House of Tom Ford. Then another Amouage, this is Interlude 53 Man. So taking the original Interlude into a much more concentrated ambery direction, still keeping its original DNA. You still have the oregano here, which I find to be super original for a fragrance. It's dark and smoky and oody and lots of amber here, resinous amber and spices together. The oregano is so magical in this. It's like, who would have thought to put oregano in a fragrance and it working together with smoky, oody, ambery, woody touches, you know? Works wonderful. So that is Interlude 53, man. I should say it's also super beast mode. It's major, major long lasting and great sillage and projection. And then we're going back to the house of Tiziana Terenzi once again. This is Sienne. And Sienne is also another woody, leathery fragrance with super spices and ambery notes. So if you like leathery, woody fragrances that's kind of sweetened up with like honey touches, amber, and you know, resins, definitely check this one out. It smells super fantastic. It's very masculine, classy. It's very, very woody and spicy. As I said, lots of ambery notes. And you do pick up that kind of sticky honey touches in here as well. Really great. I think the woods come off a little bit like shaved woods, like a carpentry station or something, because how, you know, they're shaving the woods and things like that. You do have that here, but it becomes leathery, it becomes ambery, it becomes earthy, resinous, and sweet and honeyed. So that is Sienne. Really, really awesome scent from Tiziana Terenzi. And I'm going to end this list with this new discovery for me. And I think if you like a little bit of an old school direction in fragrances, you're going to want to check this one out. This is Carner Barcelona's Dracon. I can't believe how good this is. Really, really awesome. It's also an extrait de parfum, so super long lasting. I think this one actually clings on to clothes and jacket and just stays there for a long time. So this has got old school vibes for me. There's something in there that's kind of modern and classic at the same time because it's sandalwood, fir balsam, there's leather, there's orange flower, cypriol, akigala wood, cypress, black pepper, betel leaf or betel nut leaf. But in there, there's greenness, there's earthy touches, there's some brightness with the orange blossom. The fir balsam gives you that classic touch. So might take you into a little bit of a polo direction, maybe a little bit of a yataghan direction, maybe a little bit of Van Cleef & Arpels pour homme direction, but then it's all modernized notes. Leather is not smelling classic like a classic men's leather. It's more like a modern leather that's popular within the last 5 or so years. But it's lots of woods, spices, and that fir balsam is so magical in this. I love it. It's so good. It's like old school meets new school, and they create an explosive fragrance, you know? I love it. Dracon from the house of Carner Barcelona is the last fragrance for you guys. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Are you looking for a new woody fragrance for winter? These are really long-lasting fragrances, guys. So if you are looking for something super long-lasting, intense, major projection and sillage, you know, beast mode, definitely check these fragrances out. And let me know if you have another one that I did not mention today. Add a comment below. And thank you so much for watching today's video. I do have a few other fragrances that are similar themed for winter, long-lasting fragrances. So if you're looking for more ideas, please search the channel or I'll link them in the info box. Appreciate you tuning in. As I said, please like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.